Welcome to Army Football Talk. I'm Sal Internado, beat writer for the Times-Herald Record. I'm here with our columnist Kevin Gleason. We're waiting for the biggest game in the stadium in a long time, when the Army and Air Force play on Saturday. CIC trophy on the line for Air Force. Bowl bids on the line for both teams, who have 5 wins heading into this game. And we're bringing in Kevin for a little historical perspective to put this game in its proper place when it comes to big games here at Michie Stadium. Kevin covered the team back in 1996 when there was a big one played here.
Yeah, Sal, we were talking the other day about the 96 game, which is, as far as I can remember, one of the most memorable games at Michie Stadium in the past at least 20 years, when Army knocked off Air Force for the first win over Air Force in about 8 years at the time. And it really kind of spurred their season on to greatness, to be able to win a game of that magnitude. I think what was special about that game was it was a late afternoon game, and if I remember correctly, they brought in some supplemental lights, to help out with the lighting. And what was really cool was Air Force was so talented. Army was on such a run, that Army absolutely had to win that game to continue its great run, and at the time an undefeated season. And the cadets, when it was all over, they climbed into the stands, and they really shared it with the Corps, which was really neat. It was just a great scene. It was just kind of planted in my memory bank, in terms of big Army wins. It was just a magnificent day.
Yeah, and this on Saturday it should be a great game. We have 2 teams that like to run the football, obviously. Air Force and Army are ranked one of the top teams in the nation. Air Force has dropped 3 in a row, but look at the teams that they've been playing lately. Holy cow.
Sure.
We go over those games. We got TCU, we got Utah. They had a rough one against San Diego State. So, what do you think their mindset might be heading into this game against Army this week?
Well, that's what I was kind of trying to figure out, because some teams, when they're coming off a couple of losses, a couple of tough losses, they're coming off 3, especially against a team like Utah, they come in a little beaten up, if not physically beaten, maybe a little mentally demoralized. Now, again, being a service academy, they're probably not going to lose the mental battle, but, they're coming off 3 really tough games. And, Utah, TCU before that, they're talking about really, really, really tough, difficult games. Now they're coming here, it's a long trip. I just wonder, if Army might have a little bit of a mental edge going into this, and the fact that they know now they can play with them. There's no lack of confidence with Army. And I just think it's going to remain to be seen exactly how much Air Force can handle the recent adversity.
Yeah, and Army's going into the game. It looks like they'll be healthy. Mike Gann, nose guard, and middle linebacker Steve Anderson came out of the VMI game last week, but Coach Ellerson said they should be able to go. Zach Peterson, Army center, who missed the VMI game last week with an ankle, is going to be back starting this week. So Army is getting a little bit more healthier. Sure, they're nicked up. It's their 9th game of the season. That's going to happen. And, it looks like that they're going to be firing on all cylinders. I'm not sure you're going to see slot back Malcolm Brown back into the lineup after the collarbone issue. He may be back next week. We'll see. But, it looks like that Army's going to be, this is they're going to beat Air Force. This is I say this a lot, but this is the year to beat Air Force with the team Army has on the field. I understand no disrespect to Air Force at all. Mm-hmm. Army seniors, this is the year for them. The last game here at Michie Stadium for a bunch of seniors. I think it's 26 seniors here. The last game at Michie Stadium. I didn't even factor that into my thinking at the beginning of the week. All I was thinking about how enormous this game is. But then you factor in this is their last game here.
Sold out crowd. They're certainly going to be pumped up. And Army's never known for having the most vocal, boisterous crowds. But I think there's going to be a little bit of an exception this week. I think there's going to be a huge noise factor involved, at least making the team feel comfortable. I just think it's shaping up to be maybe a special afternoon. Air Force is awfully good though, so it's really hard to pick against Air Force. It should be a good football game.
Yeah, Air Force's offense is just so dynamic. They don't give you they rarely give you the same look on offense on each play. They mix it up so much. I watching them, and then my eyeballs going to keep rolling from what they're doing. Yeah, and Tim Jefferson's really improved as a quarterback. He took a big hit at the end of the game against Utah, should be able to play on Saturday, and they don't. They're like Army. They kind of mix it up with their running game. I mean, Asher Clark is their featured back. They're missing their starting fullback Jared too, who's out for the season with an injury that happened a couple weeks ago. So their fullback is maybe not as strong as in years past, but they have enough components there on offense where they can score some points. So.
Well, let me ask you this, as a beat writer and being around these guys a lot, part of my column this week is focused on the fact that they've lost 3 games all in the last quarter essentially, and all really tough losses, and they could have won all 3. What do you think about the character of this team of being able to eliminate any type of those negative vibes and negative factors in the fourth quarter when the game's up for grabs 5 minutes ago, not allowing any of those negative thoughts to get in their head?
Well, I think that last week kind of helps a little bit to get a win, a comfortable win. I know it was against VMI. VMI fought them pretty hard for a while there. I think that kind of helps them put those fourth quarter blues out of their head. They were able to establish themselves. They needed that little bit of that lateral play by Donovan Travis and Jordan Trimble to put the game away in my book. But I think that this team, they just have this thing in their head where they want to succeed. This is a bowl game for them basically. This to get to a bowl with a win. It's against a Service Academy opponent. How can you not get up for 60 minutes in this game?
No,
that's the way I look at it.
No.
How do you?
They'll be up.
I don't. If there's fourth quarter blues in this game, I'll be shocked. They're going to be focused. They're going to be ready. And like you said, this is going to be a great game. I hope it comes down to the wire. I hope the fans are going to get their money's worth
it should
in
be
this
a great
game.
game.
They're going to hit. I was just talking to Mike Wyke, offensive lineman, before practice, and he was saying Air Force games are the most physical games that they play every year. The teams come out, they just bang and hit each other all game long. You saw it last year. Army last year, man, they shut down the Air Force's offense in the first half and were tied at halftime at 7-7 and lost the game 35-7. The defense, I guess, maybe tired out a little bit. They lost their captain, Steven Anderson, to a knee injury in the second half of that game. But for the first half of last year's game, Army really came out fired up. Again, maybe it comes down to let's finish the game out.
Yeah, that's just it. They just have to finish. I mean, they've been there. They have to prove that they can win those games that are kind of 50-50 games. Let me ask you this. Army's coming off the VMI game to win. Is it a little more of an advantage for Army coming off that win, even though it's against a lesser opponent, than it is for Air Force coming off 3 losses against pretty good teams?
Well, that's a tough question. I mean, it's hard to reach. The only thing good about the VMI game for Army, I think the taste of the Rutgers game is finally out of their mouth. The game that they should have won. For Air Force, I mean, you get beat up enough in those type of games. It could wear, like you said, it could wear on you mentally. It definitely helps them play in that competition. I mean, TCU 3 in the country, Utah 5 in the country. I mean, those teams are legit top teams in the nation. I think you're going to see Air Force. I don't think Air Force is going to come out here slowed down or anything. I think they're going to be ready to play. I think it helps out both teams. I'm going to give the edge to Air Force because of the competition.
Sure.
Like I said, VMI, we give them a lot of credit for playing hard, but you're going against Utah and TCU in back-to-back weeks. That's pretty much the elite of the country these days.
Yeah, no doubt. No, it's kind of a neat thing to think about. And, every Army player that's going to be on the field in their lifetime, they've only beaten Air Force twice.
Yeah.
Their entire lifetime.
Yeah, it's 2 wins in the last 20 years. It's really hard to fathom. But this is Steve Anderson told me at the beginning of this year. It's 2010. It's a new decade. It's a new decade to get something rolling for Army football. And why not this year? That's the seniors' attitude of beating Air Force and Navy, not just Air Force and Navy. And this is the first. This is the first game for the Commander-in-Chief's trophy for Army. That's one of their team goals. So
sure.
I think that that like we said before, this is going to be a game that you want to be at on Saturday.
No doubt about it. And again, it's another game in which they have to take that next step. That step where as a team that they're only about a 50% chance of winning. A team that very easily beat them. They have to beat one of these teams. Yeah. Temple was one, they lost. Rutgers was one, and they lost. And Hawaii was one of those, and they lost. They have to be a team.
All possible bowl teams. So I mean, you can't. There's no shame in those. But the way it happened, it's however, the way it went down wasn't cool. And it's just like with Army, they're running out of games. Seniors are running out of games. They only have 4 left. So I mean, there's not too many more games to prove yourself.
Right.
This is a big one. If you're gonna, Notre Dame is the Notre Dame game at Yankee Stadium. This is the game for Army to prove itself. So.
Absolutely. Excellent.
Yep. Thanks for joining us, guys. We'll have coverage on Saturday with Air Force and Army here at Mikey Stadium. We're signing off for Talking Army Football.